Okay. Okay, great. Now it's working, for sure. Okay, so guys, I'm really excited to be here. I'm, I'm from Romania. I'm working with alfresco through NASA Digital Engineering. It changed its name, so that's why I looked just very recently. So, so this is great. Spain is awesome. So I'm here to talk to you about what we are doing in terms of testing with alfresco. I know I've looked on previous BeeCon presentation. There's not really too much mentioning about testing, although it's a very big part of our process. Um, and how we improve this process specifically on provisioning. So who am I actually? I'm a proud father. That's my 3 years old daughter. I started off as a QA engineer in 2007, I think, and I love everything about automation. And Alfresco has given me an awesome opportunity. There's a lot of automation to be done in there, I think. So what do I do currently? I am owner of the task provisioning system. You'll be hearing about tasks more in, I think, Birds of a Feather session. End of the day also, yeah. So TAS is Test Automation System, is a specific project raised up by Alfresco to actually improve how we do testing, the testing of Alfresco. I'm also a test automation engineer. Haven't been doing that for a while now, but it's okay. And a DevOps engineer, of course. So, and a Chef Alfresco contributor, yeah, of course. Now, how does testing look like actually right now? It's it's magical actually. I don't know if you worked with all of the versions, all of the supported platforms that Alfresco does, but I can tell you for sure there are a lot. We have still have a lot of supported platforms, a lot of OSs like you see there, a lot of the application servers, like 4 of them, and this was an amazing challenge for us. These are the DBs also. And this was an amazing challenge for us when we first started working with Alfresco to do automation. We started in 2014. We came in and we said, okay, let's improve stuff around here because the test cycle is huge. So we got to do something about that. So when we first came in, when we saw all of this, it was, oh my God, oh my God, what's going on in here? We have to do something. Basically, provisioning, for example, was taking us like 2/3 of the time of a test cycle, and that's not good at all. So, and the test cycle was quite big. Now it's way smaller. So we were having about like 1.5 months, I think, for just doing provisioning, stuff like that. It was very hard for us to do it, and because there's a lot of issues in there. There's a there was a huge amount of manual intervention when coming to talk about provisioning, to do provisioning. Error prone, of course, since it's all manual, and there was no infrastructure as code, no automated provisioning at all. And it's hard to have people working with all of this system, to have people that has knowledge of working with all of these systems. When we came in, we had specialists in, let's say, Tomcat, let's say WebSphere, but not in all of them precisely. And some of them weren't even touched, like Solaris, for example. Nobody was working on Solaris. Nobody knew what that is, actually. So we had a very hard time. Besides that, there was no end of life concept. We will also still have it. We have a infrastructure that is holding all our test environments, and it is using a lot of resources. And people tend to hold on to their magical VMs, golden flakes VMs, and don't really want to throw them away and make something new. So this makes it very costly, and it's using a lot of hardware resources. Also, development teams were always struggling with bugs on magical setup combinations. And this is still a problem, and we're trying to deal with that, because the issue is that there's a customer who is coming to us with an issue, and since we have all of this matrix, people are trying to set up a lot of magical combinations, like I don't know, Solaris with SQL Server, or a lot of weird stuff. So then, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the issue is that when that issue comes in to our developers, they need to provision that stuff, and it takes a lot of time to actually do that. So so we aimed for a goal when he came in, and we said we gotta make this better. His provisioning is taking a lot of time. We can make it better, faster, stronger. So at first we made a pact with Chef actually, and we started off doing provisioning with Chef, and wrote down recipes and cookbooks to actually provision alfresco with WebLogic, WebSphere, and JBoss, besides what we now have in Chef Alfresco, because you know in Chef Alfresco we only have Tomcat, right? And also working with a lot more databases. So after that, we said, well, why don't we try Docker actually? Because it's fast for development, it's gonna be very fast for testing also. It certainly would fit our purposes. So we picked up Docker and also Vagrant, because there's always those handicapped systems like Solaris and Windows, which you cannot yet provision properly with Docker. I'm really hoping to do it with Windows in the future, but for the moment, that's all we can do. But Vagrant actually gives us a great advantage over that, so we can do it with Solaris and Windows without too many issues. So when we started with Docker, we were thinking, okay, how do we do that? Do we actually create a Docker file and make it all? Because we already have Chef Alfresco, and that's actually very good. And we thought that it's better to use the flexibility of Chef to actually deploy towards any other platform, and use that to actually create our Docker images. So this is what we've done. We we have container, for example, a container with Chef client, a volume with Chef Alfresco, a base OS container. Then with Docker Compose, we actually build up the container, commit it, and push it to our internal registry. Well, that was the initial idea, and this is how actually it looks like. It's not pretty hardcore. The chef data as the container with the cookbook, then the chef client, and alfresco. So we gave this to our developers, our testers. Okay, so now you can just use Docker Compose. That will pick up an artifact for alfresco. It will get the web server container, the database container, and bring up the environment. But that wasn't really working very well in terms of adoption. It was working, it's very flexible, it's very powerful, but people weren't liking it. They wanted more of a one-click solution. Let's have an interface. Let's just have a click and bring it up. So then we thought about that. And besides that, they also wanted a lot of flexibility. They wanted to do ample application, war additions, license, global properties, switching DBs, scaling, of course. So then we thought, okay, let's pick an interface. So we started working with Rancher. Rancher is the orchestrator for Docker. I don't know if anyone has worked with it. And we had the possibility with Rancher to give them that interface. So now they could just pick up a template from Rancher. This is my alfresco, and they could do, for example, AMP application and DB configuration. Sorry, global properties configuration. But to do that, we didn't just needed to modify what we currently have in Docker Compose and create a Rancher Compose. We also had to do modifications on the container. So on top of what we were building with Chef, we always had a startup script because we needed that anyway for synchronization. For example, when you're trying to start a cluster with alfresco, especially when you're working with a DB that starts up a bit slower, like Oracle, for example, you needed to make sure that everything is synchronized. You had to wait for the DB to be working, starting up, had to wait for the first node, and then after that start any other nodes and scale how much you want. So this was working actually very good. However, it was limited. We couldn't deploy Windows. We couldn't deploy Solaris, of course. So we had to do something else. But people liked it. More of the guys in testing, more of the developers started using it, and they thought it was cool, even though actually we haven't done much, right? We only did an overlay with an interface. We did this. Everything was still controlled by Docker. So after that, the simplest solution we found to actually give a more flexible UI was to use Jenkins. This was our savior, let's say. So with Jenkins now, the user actually has the possibility to choose his own system. Dynamically, all the other options will be loaded, so he will be able to choose an app server, a schema, and for clustering, and a DB, whatever DB he wants. And also with that, amps and WAR files, license files, for example. So I really want to show you how this actually works. So see, can we see that? Yay. Perfect. Just okay. That's not a very good view. So for example, let's try to do a deployment. I'll just leave the default stuff for now here. We also gave them the possibility to put their own DB image, not just the ones that we had in our registry. So as long as the developer or the tester had the DB configured to start up and had database alfresco, username alfresco, he could put his own container right here. He could choose the version of alfresco, and in this case, we built the container with a stable version of alfresco, but our testers could always just switch that. It was on top of the application server, so they could just pick a build from Bamboo, an artifact, and it will get deployed with that. Also, they could change GDK, GDBC, and add a license, add the amps, maybe uh, another different alfresco war, and append to global properties. So let's try it for now to just do it like this. Okay, hope it was working. Oh. So I know that Angel, you were saying you're gonna start up an environment in like 3 minutes or something like that. Well, for me it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, of course. Well, not entirely pre-built, not entirely pre-built, because in there I gave it an URL for alfresco distribution, so it will pick up that distribution and install it. From empty images, I think with Chef it takes maybe 20 minutes. Yeah, but that's rarely done. Yeah, because that's why we built it like that. We thought it's, well, actually, since we don't make many changes at the web server level, why should we build it like every time? So then we just pick it up on runtime. Not. Oh, okay, okay. So do we have community for this? At this point, no, but we are working to get that. Yeah, we are really aiming with the whole task project to go public, to offer it to the community, because yeah, it's really great. We built all the other app servers, and I think that's awesome. Maybe people really want to deploy on something else, and maybe they want to have at least an example. I'm not saying that's reference infrastructure, but at least a simple example. I think it's okay. It's very useful.
But I think part of the question is whether you have community edition images as part of the testing stacks.
No, no, not yet, not yet.
So you should repeat the question.
Okay, let's check it out. Yay. So this is a 5.1.